The rain was falling hard when Ethan stood at the edge of the landing pad. The spaceship behind him hissed and cooled, releasing steam into the cold air. He looked around, confused. This was not the world he expected. The sky was green. The trees glowed with blue light. And the air tasted sweet, almost too perfect. Ethan took a deep breath and checked the small metal card in his hand. It showed his name and one line of text. "Welcome to Oran Village. Your new job awaits." He didn't remember applying for any job like this. Back on Earth, he had been broke, lost his apartment, his friends, everything. Then one day, a message appeared on his old laptop. Work available. High pay, housing included, transportation provided. He thought it was spam, but the message came again, and again, until one morning a bright light filled his room. And he woke up here. Now he was standing in a village that looked like a dream. Small silver houses curved like seashells. The roads were soft, glowing faintly under his boots. Strange plants with long petals moved slowly, as if they were breathing. No one spoke, but he could feel eyes watching him. Then a figure appeared from the mist. Tall, slim, with silver skin and white eyes. Its face looked calm, kind even, but something about the smile made Ethan uneasy. "Welcome, Ethan," the alien said in a smooth, musical voice. "We have been expecting you." Ethan froze. "You know my name?" The alien nodded. "Of course. You are chosen. Come, we have much to show you." As they walked, Ethan noticed there were no sounds of animals, no wind, no laughter. Only the soft hum of machines hidden somewhere beneath the ground. "Where is everyone?" Ethan asked. The alien turned its head slightly. "Working. Always working." They passed a garden full of glowing fruits. One of them pulsed like a heartbeat. Ethan felt dizzy for a second, like the world was moving too slowly. When they reached the center of the village, there was a tower made of glass. Inside, shadowy figures moved. Not human, not fully alien either. He tried to look closer, but the alien gently blocked his view. "Your quarters are ready," it said. "You will rest now. Your orientation begins tomorrow." Ethan nodded weakly. The alien led him into a soft, round room. The walls seemed alive, the shifting color from blue to white. A bed rose up from the floor like liquid metal forming a shape. Ethan sat down. The bed was warm. For a moment he felt calm. Safe even, but then the sound. A low cry, like a child's voice far away. He stood up and looked around. The sound came from behind the wall. He pressed his ear against it. He could hear whispers, dozens of them. Some were laughing. Some were crying. "Hello?" Ethan called. "Is someone there?" Silence, then a soft reply. "Go back, before it's too late." Ethan stepped back, his heart pounding. "Who said that?" No answer. The wall turned dark for a moment, like something moved behind it. He grabbed his bag and rushed outside, but the door didn't open. He tried again. Nothing. Then, without warning, the voice of the alien came through the walls. "Rest now, Ethan. You need your strength." The lights dimmed. He was trapped inside. He sat down again, staring at the glowing ceiling. Maybe it was just his imagination. Maybe he was dreaming. But the whispers returned. Faint. Cold. Repeating the same words over and over. "Go back, before it's too late." Ethan didn't sleep that night. He watched the walls until the colors faded into gray. And just before dawn, he saw something move outside his window. A tall shape carrying a glass pod filled with light. And inside the pod, a small human hand pressed against the glass. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. He stepped closer to the window, but the figure vanished into the fog. He whispered to himself, "What have I gotten into?" Outside, the alien village glowed gently under the pale green sky. Peaceful, perfect. But underneath that beauty, something was alive. Something watching. Something waiting. Ethan woke up to a soft humming sound. The walls around him glowed pale white, like morning sunlight passing through milk. For a moment, he forgot where he was, until the memory hit him. The green sky. The whispers. The glowing plants. The voice behind the wall. He sat up fast. The door that didn't open last night now slid open silently. A tall figure stood outside. The same silver-skinned alien who greeted him yesterday. Its calm white eyes blinked slowly. "Good morning, Ethan," it said in a voice that almost sounded human. "Did you rest well?" Ethan didn't answer. He just stared. The alien tilted its head almost as if amused. "Come," it said. "The council is waiting." The hall outside was empty. No footsteps, no wind. Only the hum, soft and steady, like the heartbeat of a machine. They walked through curved tunnels made of transparent glass. Beneath them, Ethan could see something moving in the dark liquid, shadows shaped like people. He looked down, but the alien gently said, "Don't stare for too long. The energy fields are not safe for human eyes. Energy fields, right?" Ethan nodded, pretending to understand, but his stomach twisted. Finally, they entered a large room filled with faint blue light. 7 aliens sat around a glowing circular table. Their skin shimmered like metal dust. They all turned their eyes toward him, silent, observing. A chill went through him. The alien from before, the one who brought him here, stepped forward. "This is Ethan Ray," it said softly. "The new arrival from Earth." A deeper voice spoke from the center. "Welcome, human. You have been chosen for a purpose greater than yourself." Ethan forced a smile. "That's great, I guess. But what kind of job is this exactly?" There was a pause. The air felt heavy. Then one of them leaned closer. Its eyes flickered white for a second. "Your species has something ours has lost. The ability to create life that can survive in any world. We need that gift," Ethan frowned. "You mean science? Or genetics?" The alien smiled. "No, we mean you," he laughed nervously. "That doesn't make sense." Another alien spoke, this one with a softer tone. "We are dying, Ethan. Our bodies can no longer reproduce. Our future depends on a union between our kind and yours." Ethan froze. "Wait, you want me to—" "Yes," said the leader. "To help us continue our existence." The room was silent except for the humming sound under the floor. Ethan looked around. Their faces were calm, emotionless. He swallowed hard. "You can't be serious. You brought me here for that?" "It is not what you think," the leader said gently. "No harm will come to you. You will be cared for, rewarded, respected. You are special." "Special?" Ethan repeated. "You kidnapped me." The leader didn't blink. "You agreed when you accepted the contract." Ethan's mind raced. He remembered the message on his laptop, the glowing screen, the promise of a job. But he never signed anything. "Did he?" the leader continued. "You are now an employee of the Genesis Division. Your work begins soon." The words sounded official, but cold. Ethan looked around. "What if I refuse?" The room grew quiet. Then a low hum filled the air again, deeper this time, like thunder inside metal walls. The leader stood. "Refusal is not part of your contract." 2 more aliens entered, tall, silent, standing behind him like guards. Ethan clenched his fists. "I'm not doing this. I just want to go home." The leader stepped closer. "Home?" It smiled faintly. "You are home now." It touched a small crystal on the table. A beam of light appeared in front of Ethan. Inside the beam, he saw images, Earth, cities burning, people running. The sky dark and cracked. Ethan gasped. "That's not real." The leader whispered, "Your planet is gone. You have nowhere else to go. We saved you." Ethan felt his chest tighten. The images faded, but the words stayed like knives. "Now," the leader said, voice calm again, "follow Vera. She will guide you to the Genesis facility." Vera, the alien who brought him here, bowed slightly and motioned for him to follow. Ethan hesitated, then stepped forward. His feet felt heavy, like walking through water. As they left the room, he looked back one last time. All 7 aliens were watching him, still silent, their eyes glowing brighter than before. Outside, Vera said softly, "Do not be afraid. Many humans find joy in their purpose." Ethan whispered under his breath, "I doubt that." But Vera's hearing was sharp. She turned slightly and smiled. "Doubt is normal. Soon you will understand." They entered a long hallway filled with glass pods. Each pod glowed faintly, and inside Ethan saw people, sleeping, still, connected to tubes and lights. Vera stopped and said, "These are your predecessors. They helped us build the future. You will join them soon." Ethan's heart pounded. This wasn't a job. This was a trap, and whatever they wanted from him was only beginning. Ethan followed Vera through a narrow glass hallway that stretched deep into the ground. The air grew colder with every step. Above them, green light from the alien sky faded, until there was only darkness and the soft hum of machines. Vara's silver skin glowed faintly in the dim light. She walked slowly, her feet making no sound. Ethan's heart beat faster. He wanted to turn back, but the memory of those sleeping humans in pods burned in his mind. "Where are we going?" he asked. "To the Genesis facility," Vara replied calmly. "It is where creation begins." The words made his stomach twist. After a few more steps, the floor opened into a massive underground chamber. It looked like a city built beneath the earth, filled with lights, pipes, and humming towers that reached into darkness above. Aliens moved around in silence, their faces glowing faintly, their long fingers tapping on holographic panels. In the center stood a round structure made of transparent crystal. Inside, faint shapes floated in blue liquid, human shapes. Ethan froze. "What is that?" Vara looked at him, her voice soft. "Prototypes. They are learning to breathe." He stepped closer, pressing his hand to the glass. Inside one of the tanks, he saw a face, almost human, but the eyes were too large, glowing faintly gold. The being's hand moved slightly, pressing against the same spot on the glass. Ethan stumbled back.
"That thing's alive!"
"They all are," Vara said simply. "They are the next generation, a blend of us and you." He shook his head. "No, this isn't what I agreed to." "I'm not part of this," Vara smiled gently. "You already are. You are the donor. Your blood will guide their design." Before he could reply, two more aliens approached. They carried a floating capsule, metallic, humming softly. Vara gestured to them. "Take him to processing." "Processing?" Ethan repeated. No, wait, a cold light flashed. The air around him rippled, and suddenly his body couldn't move. He was floating, but paralyzed, held by invisible energy. His eyes were wide, his heart pounding. "Relax," Vara said kindly, though her words felt like poison. "It will be painless." They took him into another room filled with strange machines and glowing symbols on the walls. One device lowered from the ceiling. It looked like a giant metallic spider, its arms moving with soft clicking sounds. Ethan struggled to speak. "What are you doing to me?" "Extraction," Vara said. "We will take what we need, your DNA, your memory, your emotional imprint. It will help shape our children." "Children," the word echoed in his head. The spider machine moved closer, its silver arms brushing against his skin. He felt a sting in his neck, then warmth spreading through his body. Images flashed in his mind, his old apartment, his mother's smile, the streets of Earth, and then darkness. When he woke up, he was lying on a metal bed in a quiet white room. The walls shimmered like mist. A woman sat nearby, human, wearing a silver uniform. Her eyes looked tired. "You're awake," she whispered. Ethan blinked. "Who are you?" "Lyra," she said softly. Another one of the lucky employees. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. He tried to sit up, but his body ached. "What did they do to me?" he asked. Lyra looked at the door nervously. "They took a copy of you, your DNA, your memories. They'll use it to make more hybrids." "Hybrids?" She nodded. "Half human, half alien. They call them the new generation. But it's not what they say. It's not about saving their race. It's about control." Ethan stared at her, disbelief and fear mixing inside him. "Why me?" "They choose people with certain emotions," Lyra said. "People who feel alone, desperate, hopeless. It makes the connection stronger. That's how they found you." Ethan's chest tightened. It was true. Before this, his life had been empty. Maybe that's why the message had found him. "Can we escape?" he whispered. Lyra shook her head. "Not yet. Every hallway, every door is alive. It listens. But I've seen a way. An old cargo tunnel in the lower sector. If we can reach it, maybe we can reach the surface." Before Ethan could reply, the walls glowed bright blue. Vara's voice echoed through the room. "Subject 47, recovery complete. Report to the incubation hall." Ethan felt a chill. "Subject 47, that was him." Lyra whispered, "Don't show fear. They can sense it." He stood up slowly, trying to breathe normally. The door opened by itself and two aliens waited outside. As they led him down the glowing corridor, Ethan glanced back at Lyra. She mouthed two words. "Find proof." The corridor stretched on forever, humming with alien energy. Ethan looked ahead and saw the incubation hall, a place filled with hundreds of glass tubes, each holding something moving inside. Some looked human. Some didn't, his knees weakened. Now he understood this wasn't a job. It was a factory. And he was just another piece of raw material. Ethan stood frozen at the entrance of the incubation hall. Rows upon rows of glowing glass tubes filled the room like a forest of light. Inside each one floated a shape. Some small, some full-grown. Half human, half something else. The air smelled of metal and chemicals, sharp enough to sting his nose. A low hum filled the space, steady and endless, like a machine breathing. Ethan's reflection on the glass looked pale and lost. Vera appeared beside him, her silver skin shining in the soft blue light. "Beautiful, aren't they?" she said softly. Ethan didn't answer. His throat was dry. "What are they?" he finally whispered. "They are our future, and yours." Vera walked to one of the tubes and placed her hand against it. Inside, a small creature moved. It had human hands but a long neck and bright gold eyes. When it saw Ethan, it smiled. He stepped back quickly. "That thing knows me." Vera nodded slowly. "It should. It carries your memory pattern." Ethan's heart dropped. "What does that mean?" She turned toward him, her face calm. "We used your essence, your DNA, your emotions, your dreams. Each of these lives carries a part of you." He felt the ground tilt beneath him. "You can't just take someone's soul." "We did not take," Vera replied, voice even. "We shared. You gave it willingly, remember?" He clenched his fists. "I never agreed to this." Vara studied him for a long moment. "Perhaps you forgot. Humans forget easily when offered hope." She motioned for him to follow. Against his will, Ethan walked beside her as the door behind them sealed shut with a low hiss. They entered another room, smaller but colder, the experiment chamber. Tables lined the walls, covered with tools that glowed faintly. Floating screens showed images of organs, blood cells, and strange glowing energy flowing through veins. In the center of the room stood a bed made of light. Vara gestured to it. "Please lie down. We will begin the connection test." Ethan didn't move. "What kind of test?" Vara's voice was soft. "We need to confirm that your body can host hybrid energy. It is necessary for the next phase." "Host?" he repeated. "You mean you're putting something inside me?" Her eyes glowed faintly. "Only for a short time." Ethan took a step back. "No, I'm done. Whatever this is, unstop it." Two other aliens appeared behind him, silent as shadows. He turned, ready to fight, but their touch was like ice. And suddenly his body froze again, locked in invisible chains. He couldn't move. He couldn't scream. They lifted him onto the bed of light. Thin wires rose from the surface like vines, wrapping around his arms and neck. He could feel energy pulse through them, sinking into his skin. Vera stood beside him, holding a small glass orb. Inside it floated a tiny spark, meant alive, twitching, glowing bright white. "This is a seed of creation," she said. "It will connect with your life force. It will show us if the merge is possible." Ethan struggled against the invisible grip. "Don't! Please." But the orb touched his chest. Light exploded through the room. He felt fire and ice inside his veins, his heartbeat syncing with the hum of the machines. Images flashed before his eyes. Hundreds of faces, alien and human, blending together. He saw cities burning, planets being born, oceans of stars opening like eyes. And through it all he heard voices. Whispers, soft but countless. "Father, Father, Father." Then silence. When he opened his eyes again, he was lying on the floor. The bed was gone. The lights were dim. Vara stood above him, her face unreadable. "You survived," she said quietly. "Very few do." Ethan tried to speak, but his voice cracked. "What did you do to me?" Vara tilted her head. "We awakened the link. Now you are part of us, body and memory." He touched his chest. His skin glowed faintly, veins pulsing with soft blue light. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no." She placed a cold hand on his shoulder. "Do not fear. You will see the beauty of this union soon." He shoved her hand away, stumbling back toward the door. To his surprise, it opened. No guards, no energy field. He ran. Through corridors, through empty halls, his heartbeat loud in his ears. At last, he found himself in a dim room full of machines. Screens flickered with faces and humans crying, screaming. He recognized one. It was Lyra. She was strapped to a chair, tubes running from her arms into glowing tanks. "Ethan?" Her voice came through the speakers, weak but clear. They're copying us. They're making thousands." Ethan's blood turned cold. He looked around the room, rows of empty glass pods waiting to be filled, and in the center of the wall words flickered on a glowing panel. Project Genesis, Human Source, Ethan Ray. His knees went weak. It wasn't a job. It was a harvest, and he was the seed. Ethan didn't know how long he stood staring at the glowing panel that carried his name. Project Genesis, Human Source, Ethan Ray. The letters burned into his eyes like fire. His thoughts spun in chaos. They were using him, not just his DNA, but his mind, his memories, his soul. Every hybrid growing in those glass pods had a piece of him inside. He wasn't working for them. He was feeding them. He took a step back. His legs trembled, but anger started replacing the fear. He had to get out. He had to escape. Lyra, he whispered. If you can hear me, I'm coming for you. He looked around. The control room was quiet. Only the hum of machines filled the air. He noticed a thin door behind the glowing screen, half hidden in shadow. He ran to it and pressed his hand against the metal. It opened with a hiss. The hallway beyond was darker, narrower, and colder. Pipes ran along the ceiling, dripping a faint green mist. He moved quietly, trying to remember Lyra's words. There's an old cargo tunnel in the lower sector. After a few turns, he heard faint voices ahead, alien voices, soft but sharp like metal scraping on glass. He ducked behind a console and peeked out. 2 aliens stood by a large transport lift. They were talking, their glowing eyes dim in the darkness. Ethan couldn't understand their language, but one phrase repeated again and again. Subject 47. That was him. He waited until they moved away, then slipped onto the lift. The floor vibrated and the platform began to descend slowly into darkness. The deeper he went, the colder it became. The hum of the machines turned into distant thunder. Then without warning, the lift stopped. The lights flickered. Something was wrong. System error, said a voice. Human. Ethan turned fast. Lyra stood in the corner of the lift, half hidden by shadow. Her silver uniform was torn and her face looked pale but determined. Lyra, he whispered. You're alive. She gave a faint smile. Barely. I escaped during the power shift. They don't know yet, he stepped closer. We have to get out of here. I know, she said. The cargo tunnel is real. It connects to the outer desert. But it's dangerous. It hasn't been used in years. I don't care. If it leads away from this nightmare, I'll take it. The lift rumbled again and started moving. The blue lights dimmed as they reached the bottom. When the doors opened, a wave of cold air hit them. The hallway ahead was huge and empty, filled with broken machines and dead lights. This is it, Lyra said. The maintenance sector. The tunnel should be through that chamber. They started walking. Their footsteps echoed. Every sound felt too loud. Halfway through the hall, Ethan stopped. He saw a reflection in the broken glass wall, a figure behind them. Lyra, he whispered, we're not alone. A tall shadow moved from the darkness, not human, not like the others. Its skin shimmered black instead of silver. Its eyes burned orange, Lyra gasped. It's one of the guards. They don't speak. They only hunt. The creature stepped closer, its movements fast and silent. Run, Ethan shouted. They sprinted through the corridor, turning corners blindly. The guard's steps echoed behind them, steady, mechanical. Lyra pointed ahead. There, the tunnel gate! A massive circular door stood at the end, half buried in dust. Symbols glowed faintly across it. Ethan reached it first and slammed his hand against the console. Open, damn it! Nothing happened. The symbols flashed red. The guard's growl echoed through the hall. It was close now. Lyra ran to a side panel, tearing off a metal cover. I can override it. Just stall it. Stall it how? Before she could answer, the guard lunged from the shadows. Ethan grabbed a metal rod from the floor and swung it hard. Sparks flew as it hit the creature's arm. The guard stumbled but didn't fall. Its orange eyes glowed brighter. Ethan swung again, shouting in fear and rage. You're not taking me back. The creature caught the rod mid-swing and snapped it like paper. Ethan fell backward, gasping. The guard raised a sharp metallic arm. Then a bright flash exploded. The tunnel door slid open. Ethan, now! Lyra screamed. He rolled away and dove through the opening. Lyra followed, slamming her hand on the control panel. The door sealed shut just as the guard struck it, shaking the ground. They lay there for a moment, panting. The air was thick with dust, but free of that electric hum. For the first time since he arrived, Ethan felt real silence. Lyra looked at him and smiled weakly. We did it. We're out of the main facility. He nodded, still catching his breath. Where does this tunnel lead? Up, she said. To the surface. To the desert. Maybe freedom. Ethan stood slowly, looking down the long, dark tunnel stretching into infinity. Lights flickered along the walls, ancient, fading. As they started walking, a soft sound echoed from behind them. Not the guard. Something else. A faint cry. It sounded like a child's voice whispering through the tunnel walls. Father, don't leave us. Ethan stopped cold. Lyra looked back, her face pale. What was that? Ethan didn't answer. He just stared into the dark, heart pounding, realizing the truth. They weren't just running from the aliens anymore. They were running from something that was part of him. The tunnel stretched for miles, silent except for the faint hum of old machinery buried beneath the ground. Ethan and Lyra walked carefully, their footsteps echoing in the darkness. Cold air brushed their faces. The walls were damp and covered in strange, glowing vines. Ethan's chest still ached where the aliens had touched him. The blue veins on his skin pulsed faintly, glowing whenever he breathed too fast. He tried to hide it, but Lyra noticed. They changed you, she whispered. He nodded slowly. I can feel something inside me. It's awake. They walked in silence for a few moments. Lyra finally said, We're not far now. The map I saw, it ends near the edge of the surface zone. There's an old hatch that leads outside. Outside, Ethan said softly. I almost forgot what that word means. A low metallic sound echoed behind them. Both turned fast, but the tunnel was empty. Just shadows and mist, Lyra whispered. They're searching. The facility will know we're gone. Ethan clenched his fists. Then we moved faster. They hurried through the narrow passage until it opened into a wide circular chamber. In the center stood a tall console covered in alien symbols, glowing faintly blue. Strange pods lined the walls, small and egg-shaped, like miniature versions of the tanks in the facility. Ethan walked closer, his heartbeat quickening. Inside one of the pods, he saw something familiar. A small face, pale, human. He stepped closer. The child opened its eyes. They glowed the same blue as his veins. Ethan, Lyra whispered. What is that? He stared at the glass. The child moved its lips, but no sound came out. Then a whisper filled the chamber, soft but clear. Father? Ethan stumbled backward. No, this can't be. Lyra grabbed his arm. It's one of them, a hybrid. They must have stored them here before activation. But the whisper came again, stronger now, echoing from every pod. Father, don't run from us. The lights in the chamber flickered. One by one, the pods began to open. Cold air rushed out. The small figures stepped onto the floor, dozens of them. Half human, half alien. Their skin shimmered like silver mist and their eyes glowed softly in the dark. Lyra pulled Ethan behind the console. We need to go now. But Ethan couldn't move. Something inside his chest burned. A deep pulse calling to him. He heard their thoughts like whispers inside his head. You belong to us. You made us. He clutched his head. Get out of my mind. Lyra tried to drag him away, but the hybrids surrounded them. They didn't attack, they only stared. One of them, taller than the rest, stepped forward. Its face was eerily calm. We are not enemies, it said in a soft, echoing voice. We are your continuation. What are you talking about? Ethan shouted. The being looked straight into his eyes. The aliens, where they are dying. Their consciousness fades. So they made us vessels, new bodies for their minds. But you, Ethan, you changed the pattern. Ethan blinked. What pattern? Your emotions, the hybrid said. Your fear, your love, your anger. You gave us choice. You made us something they did not expect, Lyra gasped. So the hybrids, they're not just clones? The hybrid shook its head. No, we are born with memories, yours. We know what it means to want freedom. Ethan took a slow breath. Then why are you calling me father? The hybrid smiled faintly. Because your memories are the seed of our souls. The chamber lights flashed red. A deep alarm echoed through the tunnels. Farah's voice filled the air, calm but cold. Subject 47. Return immediately. You are destabilizing the link. Lyra turned toward Ethan. They found us. The hybrids looked frightened, their glowing eyes flickering. The taller one said, If you go back, they will erase you. They will use us as their next bodies. You must destroy the core. Destroy it? How? Ethan asked. The hybrid pointed toward the upper tunnel. The Genesis core is above. the heart of the facility. If it dies, we are free. Lyra grabbed Ethan's hand. Ethan, we can't fight them. We have to escape. He looked at her, then at the hybrids. Silent, fragile, waiting. He saw his own eyes reflected in theirs. I can't just leave them, he said quietly. They didn't ask for this. They were made because of me. The chamber shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Vara's voice came again, sharper this time. Ethan Ray, you belong to us. Do not resist. Ethan's veins glowed brighter, reacting to the voice. His body trembled. The hybrid stepped forward and touched his arm. The glow in his veins spread into its hand. You can use the link, it said. The same connection they built in you can destroy their core. Lyra stared. You mean, he can overload it? Yes, the hybrid said. But it will burn him too. Ethan's breath caught. If that's the only way, then I'll do it. Lyra grabbed his hand. Ethan, no. There has to be another way. He gave her a small, sad smile. I already stopped being human the day I got here. The chamber door opened with a hiss. Bright light spilled in. Vara and her guards stood there silent and glowing. Ethan turned to the hybrids. Get ready. When I reach the core, run. Vara's voice was calm, almost gentle. Ethan, come back. You were meant to save us. He looked at her one last time. Maybe, but not like this. Then he ran into the light. The tunnel ahead glowed red as alarms screamed through the underground city. Ethan ran, his lungs burning, his glowing veins lighting his path like electric rivers under his skin. Behind him, Lyra shouted, Ethan, wait! He didn't stop. The hybrid's voices still echoed in his mind, 100 whispers overlapping. Father, save us. He couldn't let them become hosts. He couldn't let Oron's secret continue. At the end of the tunnel stood a massive doorway taller than anything he'd ever seen. Alien symbols pulsed across it like living veins. The air around it vibrated with power. The Genesis core was behind that door. Lyra caught up to him, breathing hard. Ethan, you'll die if you go in there. He turned to her, eyes glowing faint blue. I already told you. I'm not the same anymore. She grabbed his arm. You're still human, Ethan. That's why they can't control you. For a moment, he looked at her. Really looked. Her face was tired, her eyes full of fire. Maybe she was right. Maybe being human wasn't about the body anymore. Then the floor shook violently. The door ahead opened with a deep metallic groan. Blinding light poured out, spilling into the tunnel. Vara stepped through. Her calm face was cracked, and literally, silver skin split at the edges, light leaking from within. Ethan, she said softly, her voice echoing like a choir. Stop this. You're destroying everything we built. He clenched his fists. You built a prison. You turned people into batteries. Vara's glowing eyes flickered. No, we created life. You just do not understand. Ethan took a step forward. Life isn't made in cages. Behind Vara, the Genesis core pulsed. A giant sphere of light floating inside a web of machines. Each pulse sounded like a heartbeat, but mechanical, cold. Lyra whispered, That's it. That's the core. Vara moved closer, raising a silver hand. Come with me, Ethan. Together we can save both our kinds. You were chosen to be more than human. He stared at her, and then for a second, he saw the truth in her eyes. Fear. Not power. Not control. Just fear of extinction. I don't want to be your savior, he said quietly. I just want to stop the nightmare. Vara's expression softened. Then you will die with it. The ground split open. Energy burst from the walls. Guards appeared behind her. Black-skinned sentinels with orange eyes, weapons forming from their arms. Ethan turned to Lyra. Go. Take the hybrids. Get them out. I'm not leaving you, she shouted. You have to, he said, gripping her shoulders. Someone needs to make sure they live free. Tears filled her eyes. You're insane, he smiled weakly. Probably. Then he kissed her forehead, turned, and ran straight into the light. Inside the chamber, the sound was deafening. A roar of energy and voices, alien and human mixed together. The Genesis core floated above a pit, surrounded by tubes that carried glowing fluid, the same color as his veins. Ethan stepped forward. The closer he got, the stronger the pull. It felt alive, like it was calling to him. Join us, the voices whispered. Become one. He raised his hand. The veins on his arm burned bright blue. He could feel the connection, the link Vara had created, and through it he could also feel the hybrids waiting, afraid, alive. He closed his eyes. If you can hear me, he whispered. Run, be free, be better than us. Then he placed his glowing hand on the core. The reaction was instant. Light exploded through the room, tearing through metal and walls. The core screamed, not in words but in pain. Machines melted, alarms died, and the ground shook as if the planet itself was crying. Farah reached out, screaming, "Ethan, stop!" But he didn't stop. He pushed harder. The glow spread through his body, consuming him. For a brief second he saw everything. Earth, Auron, the hybrids, even Lyra's face. Then the light folded in on itself and everything went silent. Hours later, the desert sky was red with dawn. Lyra climbed out of a cracked tunnel, coughing from the dust. Behind her, a group of hybrid children followed. Frightened, quiet, but alive. The facility was gone. Only a deep crater remained where Auron village had stood. She looked up at the rising sun. In the wind, she almost heard a whisper. "You're free now." She smiled through her tears. "Goodbye, Ethan." A small hybrid boy tugged at her sleeve. "Where are we going now?" he asked softly. Lyra looked at him, her voice steady. "Somewhere safe. Somewhere human." The boy nodded, then pointed at the horizon. A faint shimmer of blue light flickered far away, like a heartbeat fading into the sky. Lyra stared at it. "He's still with them," she whispered. And for a moment the wind seemed to agree, soft and gentle, like a voice carried through the stars. Home, the end.